Hello and welcome to Paint It Haint on the Road. We are on a cruise ship, so technically we are not on a road, we are on the water. And today we're going to talk about some creepy cruise destinations while I wear this ridiculous shirt that, yes, if you look up close, it is Jaws. So, we are going to start with Nassau, which I believe is our first port of call. And I'm going to tell you about the ghost of Blackbeard and the fact that he's still there, bothering people. Or not bothering people. So some of y'all might be wondering, who is Blackbeard? In simple terms, he's a pirate who plied the oceans during the 18th century. And I would say he's kind of considered a folk hero too in some people's eyes. And he gets a makeover in later years through like TV and movies. So, you know, your Pirates of the Caribbean, your Blackbeard's Ghost, Anne of the Indies, which is a classic. It's a banger. You should watch it. So we're going to take it back, though, to when Blackbeard was Edward Teach. So he's born in Bristol, England in 1680. And actually, we really don't know his real name. So it's either Edward Teach or Edward Thatch. But as you might know, pirates did give themselves pseudonyms, so we really don't know if that's his name. But he would start pirating in 1716, and this is when his career takes off. So at first, he's a privateer. He's actually a legal pirate at first, and he gets bored with that because, you know, that's no fun. And he decides he's going to, like, rob people for not the government, so for his government. So he would get a French 40-gun merchantman that he would rechristen the Queen Anne's Revenge, which I thought was a nautical no-no. Like, I thought that was bad luck, but he's Blackbeard, so he does it anyway. He even gives himself a new look and a makeover. So something to remember, first of all, is that Blackbeard was 6'1", which for that time is super tall. So he freaked people out. And in addition to doing, you know, being tall, he would also braid like fuses into his hair and light them on fire so that when people saw him, they remembered him and they were terrified of him. So 2 years later in 1718, so 1716, he starts out as a pirate. 2 years later, he sets up a base in North Carolina, and some of y'all might know that as Ocracoke Island. So following this, he literally becomes the scourge of the seas. And he would go up and down what is now the eastern seaboard of the United States, one of those places being Charleston, where he started a blockade for the purpose of getting medicine and groceries, pretty much. So apparently his crew had some pretty rough diseases of the downstairs variety. And so he decided to block up Charleston's port until he got his medicine for his crew. But it's not like he cared about them. It was just something to do. And of course, he would go down to the Caribbean because that's where all the real pirates go. And he would land in where we will be tomorrow, which is New Providence Island, aka the home of Nassau, Bahamas. So how is Nassau related to Eddie Boy, as we're going to call him? Well, Nassau had been a pirate haven prior to Blackbeard stepping on the scene. According to the Pirates of Nassau Museum, privateer Henry Every would sail his ship, the Fancy, into Nassau Harbor, starting piracy in Nassau officially. So Every would sail his ship, the Fancy, into Nassau Harbor, starting piracy in Nassau as we know it. And the other part of this start to piracy in the Bahamas is the geography. So the waters surrounding the island nation are very shallow, which is perfect for the type of vessels that pirates would have used. So what people in the Nautical community would refer to as a shallow draft. In other words, if ships that were accustomed to deeper waters, such as a British Navy vessel, tried to ride into Nassau Harbor, bad things would happen to their hull, and they would probably sink. So this is the place that our boy thrives in, and thrives he does, since he would have been around his brethren and sisterin. Nassau will be called the Republic of Pirates, and everyone was there. Calico Jack Raccoon, Anne Bonny, Mary Read, Charles Vane, John Silver, Captain Hook, Monkey D. Luffy, everybody's there. And you can see why he's still there. But what's he doing there is the question. Because, like, why couldn't he just stay in North Carolina? He's a pirate. He travels around. That's why. So Blackbeard haunts the site of Old Fort Nassau, and he's also been seen all over the island nation. And there are 700 islands that make up the Bahamas. So people often see unexplained lights out to sea, and locals refer to those as Teach's lights, referring to his last name, his OG, like, government name. And when he does appear as an apparition, he's missing his head. So here's the thing with that. He misplaced his head in quite the most gangsterlicious way the world has ever seen. And guess what? It wasn't even in the Bahamas. So November 22nd, 1718, Ocracoke Inlet. 2 sloops, the Lime and the Pearl, commanded by Captain Robert Maynard, would attack Blackbeard and his crew. And the crew was said to be drunk and useless, but they actually weren't. That was just like a smear campaign. Because, like, why would you... Anyways. Both crews would fall into hand-to-hand combat, and Blackbeard would be, for YouTube's purposes, he would be belayed. And this would end his life. So Blackbeard's head would then be displayed on the bowsprit of the Adventure, which had been the ship Blackbeard was on when Captain Maynard pulled up on him and his crew. And following that, Maynard would sail to Virginia, where Governor Spotswood, who really wanted to, like, he had it out for Blackbeard, because he was like, this man keeps trying my life, basically, would order that his head be placed on a pike and posted at the mouth of the James River in Hampton, Virginia. And guess what? I have been to Hampton, Virginia, and did not know this. So now, whenever I go back to Hampton, Virginia, this is going to be on my mind. Thank you. Come in. All right. So, Edward, Mr. Teach, I think I found your head. Or at least the last place it was, which was in Virginia. Why aren't you haunting Virginia? Virginia is for lovers. So, and guess what? So wait a minute. Guess what this area is called now? Blackbeard's Point. So if you see a 6'1" headless white man walking around Nassau town talking about where's my head, the least you can do is tell the man the last location of his dome. And that is if the fact that the headless part doesn't, like, make you a touch skeeved out, because that would skeeve me all the way out. And I mean, like, here I am suggesting, you know, a ghost pirate, you know, where to find his head. And like I'd be like, yeah, it's over there. No, I'm running the other way. So now we're gonna move on to Grand Cayman, another one of our destinations. And my shirt is dropping. So if you're a Duppy conqueror, here's your section. So north side Cayman Islands lies an area called Duppy Turn. This part of the road is that is haunted by Duppies or spirits. That's the slang or word for spirit. The legend goes that the Duppies are there because of pirates. Because of course they are, because this is the Caribbean. And FYI, there's going to be a couple more pirate stories again, because location. So the legend goes that the pirates buried treasure, and to keep the area protected, they would kill people so that the spirits will watch over and protect their treasure, which was a thing. You actually see it in one of my favorite books, Treasure Island. I hope my microphone is not doing weird things. So anyways, those are the Duppies. And what's interesting, though, is that this legend is kind of diminishing in a way. So locals say that they don't see the Duppies around anymore. And they say that since development, the Duppies have moved on. However, when they do appear, they are said to be faceless and they drift instead of walking, which is terrifying. So I'm imagining the ghost from the Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House, what's his name? Tall Man. That's who I'm imagining. If I saw that some dark night in the Cayman Islands, well, first of all, I wouldn't be out like that. But if I perchance saw that, I'm going the other way. So one of the locals described them as going about their day like a live person would when they were around, but that is not the case anymore. because of all the development. So maybe they've been scared away. Other locals see them as pure terror, and it is this area of North Side where they see they feel terrified. So people report hitchhiking duppies, and they will literally jump in your car while you're driving in this area. And sometimes they have a head, other times they don't. I guess it depends on how they're feeling that day. But if you're going to be around the area of Northside or Frank Sound, the people of the Cayman Islands have some suggestions for you to keep the duppies out. Actually, I would say suggestions. I wouldn't say suggestions, they're more like rules. So, never walk alone with rum or hard cake, what we would call cornbread in the States. Duppies apparently love some cornbread. But if you have to carry these items, pour some out for the homies, basically. And if you don't, they will follow you home. So bring corn with you to drop for the duppies. This will distract them. And I particularly love this one because it's like the broomstick bristle thing we have here in the American South, where like if you leave a broomstick out or something with minuscule, I guess you could say grains, you know, they'll be so distracted from coming for you that, you know, you can escape essentially. Ask them questions like, who are you? What's your blood type? I know what's your blood type. Basically, pretend like you met somebody on a dating website and you need to suss them out. They don't like that. And lastly, turn your shirt inside out. Now, I'm not a Caymanian, so I don't know the specific reasoning behind this, but they said do it, so just do it. And that is Duppy Turn. So now we go to Montego Bay, Jamaica, which I'm excited to go to because I love Jamaica. And Jamaica, I can't say they love me, but we had some Jamaican relatives and they were just the coolest people, and I'm always just, yeah, I love that. So I've talked about this utter nutcase before in a TikTok, but I didn't go on a deep dive. And yes, I packed my spiritual arsenal, don't worry. So if she want to square up, we can. So let's go. So sitting in the town of Montego Bay, Jamaica, overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, is a Georgian-style great house called Rose Hall. Rose Hall. If you know the story, you know. If you don't, buckle up, sis. So this home was originally a 650-acre sugarcane plantation with 250 slaves. They say living there, but were they really living? They were surviving. Who would toil this land under the psychotic eye of Annie Palmer, the lady of the house, if you can call this creature a lady. She is also known as the White Witch of Rose Hall. So Annie Hall, goodness. Annie was born in Haiti to an English mother and an Irish father. Her parents would die, leaving her nanny to raise her. And this nanny would teach her voodoo, which she would not use for good. Let's just say, we're going to say that right now. So voodoo is a religion, much like other religions. People can use it for good, people can use it for some BS. And she used it for some BS. So as an adult, she would move to Jamaica, where she married John Palmer, owner of Rose Hall. Apparently, Annie wanted the plantation for herself because she would kill John and 2 other husbands. So this woman was a black widow. And those, of course, weren't the only men that bit the dust, because she would kill male slaves whom she took as lovers as well. So, however, Annie would get a taste of her own medicine when a slave named Taku would kill her in retaliation for trying to kill his grandniece. So she got mad at grandniece and she was like, you gotta go. And he was like, no, you gotta go. So in doing my research, I came across something pretty creepy that I'm hoping to see from my own eyes. I want to see this. So at Rose Hall, there's a portrait of the murderous mistress, and it's assumed to be her as she is wearing her favorite color, which is red. She is surrounded by children in the painting, but guess what? Annie never had kids. You think that spawn of Satan would have had some kids? You're wildin'. So, children in this painting seem very artificial because they're dolls. They're not really her kids. It's been said that they might have been, like, she might have got some dolls to, like, pose as her kids to make her look like this warm plantation owner lady person. but she wasn't. And it's said that her eyes will follow you, like follow the hell out of you. And I expect to be with this woman. After all, I am the descendants of slaves, and I have been roasting her soundly for years. So anyways, after Annie's inevitable demise, she would haunt the plantation, terrifying anyone in her wake. The place will fall into disrepair because no one was touching that house. And that is until 1900. So some brave group of people, family people, decided we're gonna buy this house. And the family will move in and attempt to start a new life, give the place some new breath, some new air, some new life, until their maid fell or was shoved off a second-story balcony. So the action was said to be done by Annie because this was Annie's favorite spot to watch the slaves be tortured. And like, how dare the maid of all people have her be in her spot? She's like a really evil Sheldon. So Annie is buried on the property, which isn't crazy considering Rose Hall was her home, and you tend to see that with wealthy people during this era. But what does surprise me though is people get married at Rose Hall. And there's a resort on the property. The resort is a Hilton, and they even call it the Hilton at Rose Hall. So you know they're counting on people not knowing what the name Rose Hall entails. In Jamaica, I'm not putting this on y'all at all. I'm coming for Hilton Store for this one because y'all are dirty. You know what you did. It's a sugar plantation with a horrible history, and you're just like, nah, we're gonna pop a resort up here. So now we move on to Mexico, which is our final destination. So now it's time to visit my newfound tias, tios, primos, abuelitos, according to ancestry. So we're going to Mexico. So I've got two stories to round out our creepy cruise destinations, and we're going to start with Juan del Monte, also known as San Juan del Monte. So he or it, depending on who you talk to, lives in the jungles of Quintana Roo. And these jungles, by the way, are listed among the 20 places in Mexico never to set foot in. Juan del Monte is said to be the protector of the jungle, and he scares away anyone who visits and leads them down the wrong path. It's said he appears as a man and he speaks like a man, but others say he's also a creature. The origins of San Juan del Monte come from a time before the Spanish conquest, and the legend goes that Mother Nature created him for the purpose of being in charge of protecting her creation. It is said that you must ask for permission prior to going to the jungles of Quintana Roo. Otherwise, you risk getting lost in the mountains or have a run-in with dangerous animals. So it is also said that Juan del Monte is an evil spirit, and asking permission does not guarantee safety in the jungle. So he or it is said to change its voice to one the victim will recognize, further confusing them and getting them lost in the jungle. And now for our last one. The one that I want to go to, but it's too far and way too many mosquitoes. Chichen Itza, one of the newest wonders of the world. So Chichen Itza is a Mayan city built in the 6th century, and Chichen Itza translates to at the edge of the Itza's well. And the Itzas being the Mayan, so the Itzas are the Mayan tribe that settled there. So the well part of the name refers to two cenotes nearby. And this was a large city and religious center with the famous structure El Castillo, better known as the Pyramid of Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, name more for us Marvel thirst buckets out there. This place has a lot of history and a lot of ghosts and sprites. So apparently they're two different things. So we're going to talk about the ghosts first. So the ghosts of Chichen Itza are said to be the spirits of people who were sacrificed either through the game of Pacatak or due to other religious sacrifices. And the sacrifices were not for poopsies and giggles. The Mayans believed these sacrifices would help their current situation. For example, if there was a drought or famine, a sacrifice would be the solution. People claim to see shadow figures roaming around the historic site, and these are said to be the ghosts of these sacrificed victims. And there's also said to be the priests protecting their religious institutions. So it's a bunch of people that these spirits come from. And the most active site is said to be the observatory, where they would have observed the stars, because they were very much into astronomy, the Mayans. So people also claim to hear Mayan chanting, and some people have even had spirits go home with them, slipping into their dreams. But if the ghosts don't creep you out, scientists found dozens of skeletons, from virgins to warriors, at the bottom of Cenote Sagrado, all for the purpose of paying tribute to the rain god Shak. So, that is the end of Creepy Cruise Destinations. Look at all these notes. Sorry if I had to directly read from them. It's that kind of thing. There's a lot of information. But that is the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.